The IRS's Lois Lerner wasn't planning on this one. A congressional investigation turning up emails between Lerner and her staff, emails that blast a giant hole in the official IRS story about the targeting scandal, the one the president called phony. Washington Examiner chief political correspondent Byron York joins us. Nice to see you, Byron.
Good to be here.
Okay, Byron, first of all, where are these emails from? Who got them?
Well, the House committee that's investigating this has them, and they've given out some of them to the press. We don't know if they're all of them. But what they show is communications between Lois Lerner and other people at the IRS. Remember, the original story was this wasn't people in Washington who did this targeting of conservative groups. It was these rogue employees in Cincinnati. And clearly, by these emails, she was involved in it. And not only was she involved in it, there were some cases involving Tea Party organizations that she thought were so sensitive that the people in Cincinnati should not be told about it. So not only was it not people in Cincinnati, but people in Washington were keeping Cincinnati in the dark about it.
One of her emails says, makes reference to the Tea Party, says the Tea Party matter is, quote, very dangerous. And it strikes me as, you know, here's a woman who works at the IRS with an enormous amount of power, and people are terrified of the IRS, and she's calling the Tea Party dangerous, and she's not reflecting on her own conduct as being profoundly dangerous.
Exactly. And she, as a matter of fact, in that very email, she wanted to get the council involved in this. So there was some sort of legal aspect she was talking about. There's another email in which a subordinate of hers had sent her a note about a report on NPR. And it was about complaints that Democrats were making about a couple of groups, Crossroads, GPS, and Americans for Prosperity. And the Democrats were saying these groups shouldn't have tax-exempt status. They should be like political action committees. The FEC needs to get involved in this. And Lois Lerner actually wrote an email saying perhaps the FEC will save the day for Democrats. So I think it gives an idea that she was on one side in this, and that she was not only specifically looking at Tea Party groups, but also making sure that their actions were not known all around inside the IRS.
You know what slays me, though, as bad when I see her emails and I see that she's, you know, targeting or saying horrible things about the Tea Party being dangerous. You know, these are just good Americans who object to big government. And I think to myself, well, you know, you don't walk through the office and not say those things to your colleagues. I mean, where are all the colleagues around her? Where's her supervisor? I mean, this couldn't just be Lois Lerner hiding a few things in a couple emails. I mean, it doesn't work like that in an office environment.
Well, first of all, at this time in the last few weeks, we haven't really been hearing a lot about the IRS scandal. Obviously, there's been a lot of other news, but investigators have still been interviewing people who were at the IRS, and so we may learn more from them. And of course, the problem with Lois Lerner is she's taken the fifth.
She should. If I were her lawyer, you know, if I were her lawyer, I would have told her to take the fifth too.
That'd be your first bit of advice. But the fact is, it means that we can't find out what's going on in the public, at least.
Well, you know, if the president would go back to the early thing before he called it a phony scandal, in the beginning he said there would be an investigation. If he would get behind it, and even let me even mention the T word, transparency. You know, instead of making sort of like, you know, pulling teeth to try to get information out, because Americans deserve to have the IRS act responsibly towards them.
The Republicans on the Hill have kind of chuckled to themselves about this phony scandal thing because they knew that they were finding stuff out in their investigation. They knew it was continuing, and they knew it would come out at some point in the fall.
And he knew when he was saying that either he knew what was going on, that's one choice, and I'll say maybe that he didn't, but he knew that all the information wasn't out, but he knew that everyone would listen to what he had to say. He should have at least waited for the information.
Absolutely.
Anyway, Byron, thank you.
Thank you.